everybody, welcome back to my channel, Nikki Talks.
Hello.
And I just wanted to come in here today really to just run my mouth. I wanted to talk about the situation with Miss Sheryl Lee Ralph. If you don't know who that is, if you're familiar with the show Moesha, she played the mom. She is a dream girl, original dream girl cast. She was on Sister Act 2 with Lauren Hill. She played her mother. She's had so many roles. She is
She's an icon. She's a legend, and she is the moment.
I was very torn about doing this video because she is a black woman and I am a black woman, and I don't like seeing us tear each other down. But I also work closely with airlines, and so I have a lot of inside knowledge about how things work, how things run, how things, can be affected. And I felt like I wanted to just come in here and just kind of talk about that. So the purpose of this video is not to tear her down. I don't want to see her being torn down, in the comments.
You take that elsewhere. Don't bring that here.
I don't want to see her being torn down, in the comments. It's really just to shed light on really the airline industry and how things work. There's a lot of common misconceptions about what should be accepted, what should be expected, what shouldn't, And I just wanted to I've always wanted to make a video like this, but I always felt like the timing wasn't right, and I felt like the timing is right. And so we're going to get into it. So apparently, I'm going to read here the part of the article that talks about what happened. So apparently she got to the ticketing counter late and was not able to check her bags onto the flight. So she said, I went to the airline, the one I'm a 3 million miler on, to check my bags, and I was 4 minutes late, she said, standing in front of a Delta sign. The woman said, there is absolutely nothing we can do for you. I was like, it's only 4 minutes. I've checked into flights later than this. Oh, absolutely not. I'm guessing that's what the agent said. And so she says, and I was saying, in these days and times, just be kinder, just be nicer, because you just never ever know. Ralph continues, anyway, I just bought my ticket on American Airlines and will be flying now. And so that was her experience. And I'm seeing a lot of people first off saying, oh, if she has status like that, there should have been something that they could have done to get her luggage, on the flight, to get her on the flight. They should have been more helpful. They should have been more, given better customer service than that, so on and so forth. And while, it is disappointing that this was the situation that Miss Ralph was in, I don't think that it was fair to say, be kinder, be nicer. We all, in general, can work on being kinder and being nicer to each other. But I don't think that this situation has anything to do with the person who was helping her being kind or being nice or not. The unfortunate fact of the matter is Mrs. Ralph was late to her flight.
Come on.
Whether it was 4 minutes, 14 minutes, or 40 minutes, she was late to her flight. And the way that it works when it comes to airlines and flight schedules, they legally have to be on time. And I know people are going to say, but they're always late. Not always, but yes, there are a lot of instances where flights can be delayed, flights can be canceled, and what have you. But the goal and their legal obligation is to operate on time. They actually have an on time performance goal that they have to meet, legally have to meet. And if they don't, they actually get fined for that. And they also have to, because it's a legal obligation, and when they don't meet it, that's why we get compensation when there is a delay and when there is a cancellation. Because they did not meet their legal obligation to get us where they said that they were going to get us in the time that they said that they were going to get us there. So they are obligated to operate on time. So they are not going to willingly, willfully, and voluntarily cause a delay for their flights. They're just not. And the thing about it is when someone is late and yet they still want to be able to get them and their luggage on the flight, that causes a major performance disruption. Because it's not like, oh, it's 4 minutes and we'll just give her 4 minutes and she'll be on the flight in 4 minutes. No, 4 minutes turns into 40 minutes very quickly. Because now we have to wait for the system and everything to be opened back up so that tags can be printed for the luggage, so that the luggage can be linked with the flight that the person is on. For the luggage to be sent to the baggage handlers, which also too, when you're late like that, now we have to also wait for baggage handlers to be available to transport your luggage from ticketing to the tarmac to the flight. Then we have to wait for the passenger, Mrs. Ralph in this case, to go through security. And she might have TSA pre-check and, those different things that help you to get, expedited through security. Who knows? And even sometimes those lines can be long. But we have to wait for the screening. Then we have to wait for her to get to the gate. Then we have to get boarding passes scanned. Meanwhile, back at the range, we still have to wait for the luggage, right? So while that's going on, you have other flights that are scheduled after her flight that need to also go out, which is either going to cause those flights to be delayed because they have to wait for her flight to go out before they can push away from the gate and taxi off, or it's going to cause her flight to be even more delayed because those flights are going to now be pushed ahead of her flight. Her flight's going to be rescheduled for departure.
Come on, tell them. Tell.
Which could then lead into, because crew can legally only work a certain amount of time and they can't go over that time. And delays and things like that are calculated into the hours that they've worked. So that's piling up. We might be heading into a crew time issue, which could cause an even more excessive delay or a cancellation. These are the things that you risk when you hold a flight. Not to mention, there's also flights that are flying into the airport that have to land that need the gate that flight is at. Now that flight has to be delayed or diverted because the gate's not available, or they have to circle in the air or land on the tarmac and sit on the tarmac until the gate becomes open. So now that flight is delayed. On top of the fact, once her flight does leave after being delayed and lands at the next airport, now that could be messed up as well. It's a snowball effect. These are the things that happen when you want someone to hold a flight. It sets the whole performance off. And this is the reason why they don't do it except in extremely rare. Can they have to be like extreme emergency? Somebody is dying, somebody done died. Like it has to be extreme, or it has to be a situation where there's not any other flights that are scheduled around that particular flight, and it's not going to impact the crew's time performance. Then they may have some wiggle room with air traffic control to be like, okay, we can hold it for like another 10, whatever the situation may be. But 9 times out of 10, they don't have that accessibility to be able to do that. They have to leave on time. Now, the other thing that I was also seeing, I saw a lot of people who actually fly on Delta who were, I think they're they for their highly valued customer program. I think theirs are called medallion members, and I think their highest one is diamond. I was seeing a lot of people who were saying that they were diamond that were talking about, oh well, I'm a diamond, I'm a Delta diamond, or I'm a diamond medallion, and I've always been able to check my bags in late. I've never had any issues, so on and so forth. The thing about that is, and to anyone on any airline that is a highly valued customer, because I know a lot of times people think flying a lot equals I know as much as the people that work there, and you do not. And the reason why I say that is because you may think that you are checking your luggage in late, but in actuality, you're really not.
Okay.
Because what can happen is you might be cutting it just close, but the ticketing agents can look in the system and see, okay, where is this flight at in the process of being boarded. If you're just at the point where it's like you hitting it, you cutting it a little close, you almost late, or maybe you might be 1 or 2 minutes late, but they can look in the system at the flight and see, well, it's still in the process of being boarded. The baggage handlers are still at the flight, get you taken care of. That's not the same as being late. If the flight is still in process of being boarding, then you still have a chance of being able to get yourself and your luggage on the flight. However, it is a risk because what can happen is your luggage can get to the flight, but if the baggage handlers aren't there, it does not get scanned onto that flight. That is why sometimes you will have a lot of instances where you get to the gate, you might be slightly late or about to be late, but they still let you through. Your luggage gets scanned, whatever, what have you. You get on the plane, you about to take off, or you're in the air and you get your Wi-Fi and you go to check your baggage tracker. If you have like the app for the airline that you travel with, you check your baggage tracker and you see your bags are scanned on to a different flight.
You hear what I'm telling
So
you?
now you calling customer service like, well, what happened?
What was the reason? I had a reason. What was the reason? I had a reason. What was the reason?
I was, on time for my flight. I checked my luggage in. They scanned it for my flight. But when I looked at the baggage tracker, it looks like it's on a different flight. That's why. Yeah, it got sent through. But because of the timing and how tight it was, by the time your luggage got to either they sent it to the back for the baggage handler to take it and nobody came and got it because there was nobody available. Or when it got down to the tarmac, there was nobody there to take it to to scan it and finish the rest of the process to get it on that flight. So it got scanned out for the next available one. And I know there might be some people like, well, I've never had that happen, and that's great for you.
Oh, that's good for you, baby.
That's wonderful that you have not had to experience that. But I personally know a lot of people, including people who are Diamond members with Delta, that have had that situation. And I mentioned in Delta because that's who Miss Ralph was flying with. But that have had that situation happen with their luggage where they thought everything was cool and copacetic. And they get to their destination and get to baggage claim and their luggage is not there, or they refresh that baggage tracker and their luggage is on a different flight. And I think more so now, as of recent, they're starting to do that less and just let you know it's no time, we can't get you on there, as opposed to trying to squeeze you in and having it be an issue after the fact. And I also know that there's going to be some people that say, well, if it's an issue with not having baggage handlers available, y'all need to hire more people.
Let me explain something to you.
Here's the thing. Nobody, no company, anywhere, ever, in the history of ever, is going to hire someone just to sit around and twiddle their thumbs.
Okay.
If someone is hiring you, you're going to be working. You're going to be working. So it doesn't matter how many people Delta has hired. They're all going to be working and doing something. That's not going to guarantee, just because they have a plethora of employees doesn't guarantee that there's going to just be somebody available to handle your last minute request. The answer to the problem is be on time.
I said what I said.
And if you have a situation, because I had seen somebody say, oh, well, being late is a part of life. That's not a healthy way of thinking. You should want to work to be punctuality. Do last minute things happen? Yes. But at the end of the day, you have to have the mindset that those last minute things that happen, it's not the businesses that you are trying to conduct business with's fault. It's not their fault. And I feel like a lot of times what happens is, especially when it comes to like airline and, you know, like event type things, when last minute or unexpected things happen, inconvenient things happen to people, they want to not just take it out on the company that they're doing business with, but they want to make it that company's personal responsibility to make it better and make it their fault. And that's unfair. We get that Miss Ralph was late. We don't know what was going on in her life to make her late. May have been her fault, may not have been her fault, but it for daggone sure was not the airline's fault. She was late, and it was what it was. But the airline did not make her late. So therefore, regardless of whether or not she's an EGOT or, you know, whatever the situation may be, because people want to call, she's an EGOT, she got 3 million miles. They did not owe her the disruption of their on-time performance with their flight for her to get her luggage on the flight. It doesn't work like that. The other thing that I was seeing too is, oh, well, airlines are late all the time. As much as they're late, it shouldn't be no problem to let her be late. They could have got her luggage on the flight.
Let me explain something to you.
So, as I mentioned previously, when airlines do not meet their on-time performance, when they have to delay, when they have to cancel, they are fined. And again, they also have to compensate because they did not meet their legal, and also maybe sometimes they have to reimburse because they did not meet their legal obligation to get you where they said they were going to get you in the time frame that they said they were going to get you there. So with that being said, if the airline is going to hold a flight, meaning they're going to delay a flight,
Okay.
on behalf of Mrs. Ralph, then do we send her the bill for the fine? Do we also have her personally compensate all of the passengers that will be affected by the delay out of her own personal funds?
Oh, no, but what we not finna ready to do. Wait, hold up.
Since she is solely responsible for the delay. Is that what we do? Because when airlines delay, they pay. So if Mrs. Ralph delays, then she should pay. If that's what we want to do. If we want to play the, well, airlines are always late, so she should be allowed to be late. Okay, well then if we're gonna go by those rules, then all the terms and conditions apply. If they have to pay the customers when they impact the customers because they're not meeting their on time performance, then that also goes for the customer if they are the one causing the airline to not be able to make their on time performance, if that's what we're gonna do. But see, when we start talking about that, then it's, oh, that's not the same thing, that doesn't even make sense, what are you talking about? But it is the same thing.
It ain't changing over here.
They take the loss for that. Who's going to take the loss if they're late for Mrs. Ralph? So it doesn't work like that. Yeah, airlines are late sometimes, but they pay for that out of their pocket. So you can miss me with that talking point, honestly, because it holds no weight, it holds no water. Again, I just wanted to bring some awareness because this isn't the first time that I've, been around this situation when it comes to airlines and things that happen within the airline industry and how the people who fly on airlines respond to it. And I really think that the people who need to be more nice and need to be more kind are the passengers, the customers, because there are a lot of things that happen that really are circumstantial and are not within any individual representative or agent's control.
It's not by choice. No, it's not by choice.
That was something else that I was seeing too. People saying, oh, well, it just matters who you get. I've had the best customer service and sometimes I've had the worst. People don't know how to talk to people, so on and so forth and what have you. And what I have found in working just in customer service, period, is people don't really rate the customer service by the individual agent and the dynamic between them and the agent and what was actually said. It's, I asked for this and you couldn't give it to me. Horrible customer service. And that's really, really unfair, especially when we talk about situations like what occurred with Mrs. Ralph, because when it comes to the airline industry, there are a lot of things that are circumstantial. And like she said, and what she posted, I've checked my bag in late before on many of occasions. Circumstantially, those situations may have worked out for her to be able to do so, depending on where in the process everything was with the flight and boarding, loading the luggage and all of that. They may have been able to squeeze her in because they hadn't completed the process yet. Whereas circumstantially in this situation, the cutoff time was done. There was no room left to process anyone or anything else. I think more specifically the baggage for this flight. It was done. That's not the agent's fault. That's not the agent being nasty. That's not the agent trying to give, bad customer service. It's just circumstantially it did not work out for that agent to be able to do anything above advise her, there isn't anything else I can do for you. And then I see a lot of people too in the comments saying that the agent was being nasty. You don't know what that agent's tone was. It could have been, there isn't anything else I can do for you. Or it could have been, there's absolutely nothing else that I can do for you. And if it was the latter, that's not being nasty. That's not being rude. It's just letting you know what the situation is. So again, I go back to say, I think the people who need to be a little bit more nice and a little bit more kind are all of us, especially when we are in the consumer or the customer position, I think we need to do a better job of keeping in mind that the people that we come in contact with when we're dealing with these companies, these people just work there. They don't run the company. They don't make the rules. A lot of the times they don't manage the company. The manager is somewhere else. They literally just follow guidelines and rules that have been set out before them. It's not their fault. If you don't like it, go escalate it to corporate. Don't go posting stuff on social media talking about this was the worst experience that I ever had. This customer service rep was so terrible. But literally all they did was their job, and you're berating them for it. And that all they did was what they could do, which was their job, and you're berating them for it. And that's not fair. So we can't do that and then turn around and say, just be nicer and just be kinder, because you never know. You don't know who that agent is going to turn around and become in the future and how that's going to impact you. So, you know, I just really wanted to come in here and say that because this situation really did bother me. And I've seen it go on way too much where, you know, it really was a situation of entitlement. And I've seen it happen way too much, whether it's airline, whether it's food, whether it's retail, where someone comes in with an expectation that is fueled by entitlement. And when they get humbled, which is what happened with Mrs. Ralph, then they take it very personally because their egos are bruised, and then it's, let's go to social media. I'm gonna have an adult tantrum, which is what going to social media is, and this is what we have. And so I just wanted to shed light, you know, about the other side, and because there are just things that go on in any business that the people on the outside looking in don't have access to. And this was definitely one of those situations. So I definitely agree with Mrs. Ralph. Let's be kinder and let's be nicer, because you never really know. And I'm gonna go ahead and get over here. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Y'all let me know if y'all agree with me. Let me know if there's anybody out there that, you know, works for the airline industry. What has your experiences been? Please, if you enjoyed this video, please rate, comment, and subscribe. And I hope y'all come back here for the next one. Bye.